All right, guys, welcome into my official NFL Top 10 Best Bets here for week number 3, where I go through 10 of my favorite bets. Let's kick it off with a game. AFC, NFC, we've got a massive spread in this one. Chicago sitting plus 12.5. I'll take the over, and it is kind of a bigger over-under in this one, 47.5. It seems Vegas is anticipating Mahomes to really light it up. He's been kind of quiet. Travis Kelce possibly healthy again. I also expect Justin Fields to really utilize his legs more. You take a look at the conversation, the dialogue surrounding him, it's really taken a turn for the worst here just 2 weeks in. A lot of people already saying he's not the guy. He's on the verge of being benched. I think that's ridiculous. It does, the reading the field's a bit of a concern, but I do think him utilizing his legs more in this game, realizing that he really needs to generate points, that's going to help them score more. 34-23, you get an easy over 47.5 in that one. And it's a combination of both Mahomes and Justin Fields kind of playing a little down the first 2 weeks. I expect both of them to be a lot better, along with the idea that possibly Chicago could get a garbage time touchdown late, giving us a fairly easy over. That game starting at 425. Moving on to number 9, it is Houston traveling to Jacksonville. I will take the Jags minus the 9.5. Maybe a little bit of a bigger number, but this does feel like a get-right game for Jacksonville, for Trevor Lawrence. He's got Calvin Ridley. He's got Christian Kirk. Really poor performance last week at home against Kansas City. A lot of people picking them to possibly upset the Chiefs. They were only 2.5-point underdogs. They end up only dropping 9 points, and this is a game, it's a get-right game. You're facing a Houston team. Houston just doesn't have a very good roster, but we saw C.J. Stroud last week, especially in garbage time. He can throw even as a rookie. He looks really good. He's got high upside. He's got elite arm talent. He's going to generate yards with Tank Dell, with Nico Collins, especially if they get down early playing catch-up. He could very easily throw for 300 yards in this game just based off of garbage time, especially if Jacksonville and Trevor Lawrence maybe throw 2 touchdowns in the first half. I would expect Trevor Lawrence to have a very good game against a defense that's really doesn't have all that much talent outside of the young rookie Will Anderson. I will take Jacksonville minus the 9.5. Really don't trust the over in this game, so I'll go in on the Jags to get right after a disappointing home performance last week. Moving on to number 8, we have Indianapolis traveling to Baltimore. So Baltimore, they won very easily in week 1. They covered. They won in week 2 on the road at Cincy as 3-point underdogs. So they're 2-0 against the spread. I'm actually going to go against Baltimore. You've got Indianapolis sitting plus 8. You have the issue with Anthony Richardson. Honestly, Anthony Richardson, he looked really good at the beginning of last week. He gets the concussion after the 2 rushing touchdowns. But in a game like this, I probably would prefer the veteran Gardner Minshew to start it on the road in Baltimore. Baltimore is a very tough place for young quarterbacks to play. Gardner Minshew, they have a decent offense. They've got good, underrated receivers. I will take Indianapolis to surprisingly keep this game close, and I'm sure a lot of people, if it is Gardner Minshew versus Lamar Jackson, they'll be very surprised that this is a very good game into the fourth quarter. Maybe Baltimore wins on a walk-off Justin Tucker field goal, but 8 points for me, especially Gardner Minshew coming in that last game and really calming things down. I know they were already winning against Houston, but still, he had a very nice end to the first half, and they were up by a ton of points, and they were just really running the clock out the entire second half. So I like Indianapolis to cover this 8-point spread. I don't anticipate Baltimore moving to 3-0 against the spread early in this season. At number 7, we're going to go with Buffalo at the Commanders. So this game at FedEx Field, 1 o'clock, and we'll go with the over 45.5, and this is just a value game here. We've got Buffalo coming off an amazing offensive performance last week, the turnaround after the rough Monday night game against the Jets. Josh Allen throwing for 3 passing touchdowns. We know how potent that offense is, not just with his arm, but also with his legs. And then the Commanders, I was in on their over last week against Denver. It was kind of just a random bet. I decided to do it, and that game went way over. And this is another game. I'm finding value, 45.5. You can understand the Commanders do have a good defense. They've got Chase Young back. He had 1.5 sacks in his season debut in week 2. But this is a Buffalo team coming off a good showing. I think they continue their momentum. They win this game. Not sure if they cover the 6.5-point spread, but I do like the value on the over, the 45.5 there. Number 6, it is another 1 o'clock game. It is Atlanta traveling to Detroit, and I love the over in this game as well. So Detroit Lions overs at home, they seem to always hit. And this is only 46, and you can kind of understand why it's only 46. The idea is the Atlanta Falcons probably going to come down to earth after last week, although I don't know. I think Kyle Pitts, the tight end, is a sneaky good play in terms of daily fantasy. They're going to be throwing a little bit more. Kyle Pitts has gotten basically no targets the first 2 weeks. They drafted him 4th overall. They're going to want to utilize him inside of a dome. This Detroit offense, very good at home. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jared Goff, very high scoring game last week against Seattle. It's going to be another higher scoring game. I do like Detroit to win this against Atlanta. Atlanta is 2-0. They are due for a loss. I love the Detroit Lions on the money line. Don't love them enough to take a -4. I do like this game being a higher scoring one. Also, Bijan Robinson, just not only his rushing ability, but also his ability to catch passes out of the backfield. That's a big thing for Atlanta. So this is going to be a higher scoring dome game, fine weather, no elements to affect it. And we could see Desmond Ridder maybe throwing a little bit. Kind of interesting with Atlanta. I know everyone thinks their offense is terrible. They had about 450 total yards of offense last week against a decent Green Bay defense. So over 46 seems like good value to me. At number 5, it is Dallas traveling to the desert to take on the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals sitting right now 2-0 against the spread. Dallas has been, I think Dallas is also 2-0 against the spread. They have been very, very dominant. Dallas, I believe, has gone down to -12 even in this game, so they're -12, not -12.5, but I still like the Cowboys to cover. So Dallas really makes their hay on just destroying teams. Last year, they were able to run up such a big margin. They just had crazy analytical rankings. This year, early in the season, it's been no different. They crushed the Jets with Zach Wilson. They crushed the Giants on the road in week 1, 40-0. This is another game. Again, the Cardinals sitting 2-0 against the spread. They are one of, if not, commonly known as the worst team in the NFL. They're not going to move to 3-0 against the spread. I could very easily see Dallas doing that, though. That's why I think the Cowboys, they tend to crush teams like this. 35-13, a very easy win, and they do cover the 12-point spread there. Number 4, we have the Chargers traveling to Minnesota. This game's at 1 o'clock, and it is listed as a pick'em. I wonder if this will move. Maybe I saw it Chargers -1. I think I did see it Chargers -1, but I love Minnesota. Both of these teams, surprisingly, 0-2. Give me Minnesota to win this game outright. We know it's a brutal one. We know it's going to come down to who has the ball last, a last-second kick, a crazy turnover, but that's the fun of the NFL. You just got to throw a dart out there, and I'll take the home team, Minnesota. Kirk Cousins, he's thrown for a ton of yards. That offense is no joke. They've got elite receivers, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, I love as well, TJ Hawkinson. Obviously the Chargers, very good team as well. Either way, possibly without Austin Eckler, we will see. Give me the home team in a pick'em where both of these teams need the win, and I think the narrative coming out of this game, the Chargers will probably fire their head coach because of it after they fall to 0-3. That is my prediction there. The number 3 best bet, it is the Saints traveling to Lambeau to take on the Green Bay Packers. I believe this is the first Packers home game, so I'll just take the under 43. I do like the Saints to win this game outright, but for a few reasons, I think this over-under should probably be at like 39 or 40, similar to the Jets-Patriots over-under. When you look at the Saints offense, really anemic. Derek Carr has not been good early on. I understand they've got good receivers, but still, they haven't been really showing much. This is a very tough matchup for Derek Carr going on the road in a hostile environment. It's going to be a raucous environment. The Packers home opener. And then taking a look at the Packers offense, Jordan Love, I guess you could say decent game manager, but I just don't see this game being very high scoring at all. So I'll say 23-17. I would take New Orleans outright to win this game, but they are 2-0. Do we really think New Orleans is going to be 3-0 on the year? I mean, I could kind of see it. It wouldn't shock me. I don't think New Orleans is going to finish with like 12 wins or anything like that. Teams get off to good starts all the time and then kind of fizzle, but I guess I'll take New Orleans outright just because Green Bay, even though this is their home opener, the defense was concerning last week against a, Atlanta offense that really couldn't throw the ball the week before. But either way, it seems like a more defensive-minded game in this one. The Monday night performance by the Saints, really, really not great. They had a good defensive performance, but it was against Bryce Young. Either way, moving on to number 2, we're going to go the Sunday night game. It is the Steelers at the Raiders, and we're going to go over again here, 43. It just feels like these Sunday night games, these Monday night games, especially a game like this, you're talking about the desert, you're talking about the team colors, the Raiders, it just feels like a higher scoring, explosive type night. And I do like the Raiders to win this one outright 30-27. The Raiders are sitting -2.5 in this game. Kenny Pickett, the Steelers, they kind of turned it on there a little, although they really got aided by defensive touchdowns on Monday night. There was the one nice long touchdown completion to George Pickens. Other than that, maybe they need a new running back. Najee Harris seems like he's not cutting it, maybe lost a step already. It is crazy with running backs and how quickly they age. And then the Raiders, I think you just got to throw last week out the window. You got crushed against a good Buffalo team. You went West Coast time zone to East Coast time zone. It is what it is. It's a tough place to play. You're home. You're in a dome. Jimmy G, Devontae Adams, higher scoring game here. I will take the Raiders to win, possibly on a walk-off field goal there. And then number one, it is going to be Denver traveling to Miami, so I will take Denver. They were originally +7. It's down to 6.5. Either way, this is going to be another one of those weird games where people think Miami's just going to blow them out. If you take a look at Miami, that Sunday night game against the Patriots had, even though they were down 17-3 at half, they had several chances to tie that game and send it into overtime. Several. So it wasn't like, even though they were down early, it wasn't like that game was really out of hand. And Denver's a team who has shown offensive explosiveness. I expect Marvin Mims to catch a deep pass in this game. You've got Jerry Jeudy. You've got a good stable of running backs. You've got some decent pass rushers for that Denver Broncos defense. And I think it could possibly be a big-time upset where people get really surprised. But it's just one of those things in the NFL where we tend to anoint teams too early. And it seems like everyone wants to call Miami a top 3 or top 4 team in the league just because they've started off 2-0. They've had a nice start. And certainly Tua Tagovailoa looks great. He looked great early last season as well. But this is a situation where they're going to come back down to earth a little bit. Maybe they win this game. But Denver's a team. A lot of people are down on them because they're 0-2. They lost 2 straight home games. They're 0-2 against the spread. But that game against the Commanders, they were blowing them out early. I will say some of the long touchdowns, maybe those are hard to reciprocate, rather than have a long drive. But either way, I do think the Denver Broncos offense, Russell Wilson, improved since the disaster that was last year. I will take them to cover, if not win this game outright. So guys, those are my top 10 NFL best bets here for week number 3. Make sure you're following me on X. Link to that's always in the description.